various professionals on our LinkedIn page as well as our Insta page. I would request all of you to go and check out all the initiatives and be connected to us. We'll be conducting more such sessions in the future as well. Now I would love to hand over the stage to Divesh. He will be introducing you about inside angle, and then Harshita can take over to conduct the whole session. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sitan, Duman, for introducing Proternity. As a matter of fact, I have been following Proternity since almost its inception, and Duman and team have been doing a great work, sharing inspirational stories. I'm sure a lot of you would have actually gone through a few of the stories and got some inspiration from it. Not just that, I think Proternity has been taking some great initiatives, including this one. The fact that management consulting as an opportunity is a growing opportunity for CAs, but not many are aware of it. So Duman came up with this wonderful idea of actually hosting a session wherein we could, talk about this opportunity for CAs. In terms of our channel, Inside Angle, I and Bhramar had started this channel back then in March 2021. After Bhramar ended up securing an all-India rank first position in Jain 21 exams. Was in my mind since a long time, given I personally feel that there's a lot of misconceptions around the CA course, whether in terms of, the course content, or maybe CA not being as good in terms of soft skills, etc. There are a lot of misconceptions which I feel already, create that hype around the course that it's very difficult, which it is, but it's not trackable. Henceforth, we had taken this initiative and started our channel Inside Angle. The name of the channel now is CA Inside Angle. And now the one came up with this idea that we should actually collaborate and we should actually host this one session on the career opportunities in management consulting for fresh chartered accountants. So that was a very brief. I'll now hand over this floor to Harshita to take this forward. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you, Divesh, for introducing both Proternity and Inside Angle. So, talking about this session by introducing this series actually. So since you know that we have just came up with the results of CA final, henceforth we have decided to come up with these series based on the domains which CAs can go to after they qualify. And this is part of that series first, where if anybody is interested in management consulting, we are hosting this session for them. So today we have three guests who have been working in the management consulting domain. We have Divesh, Bhramar, and Pranav, who are in their in different management consulting top firms in India, rather I would say in the world. I would now like them to introduce themselves, starting with Divesh. Please introduce yourself.
Thanks, Harshita. Yeah, my name is Divesh. I cleared CA intern in May 18 exams with an All India Rank 6. And I cleared my CA finals last year in July 21 with an All India 13. I pursued my articleship from Deloitte in the corporate and international tax domain. And I've been working at company, which is a part of the famous MVP, famous trial, since the last 8.5 months now. Over to you, Pranav. You're on mute, Pranav.
Oh, sorry. The most basic of Zoom mistake. So, hi everyone. Excited to be here and be interacting with you all. So, always good to see fresh faces, though I can't really see the faces. So it would be great if you could all switch on your videos. That way it's more interactive and more fun for the both of us. So yeah, I'll just have a quick intro about me. So this is Bhramar Jain. I hail from Raipur, the capital city of Chhattisgarh. I did all my schooling as well as the studies for CA from my hometown itself. I did my articleship partly from Delhi and partly from my father's firm. So I come from a family which is a CA family. So my father is a chartered accountant. So is my brother and sister-in-law. After I qualified chartered accountancy in Jan 21 attempt, securing All India rank first position. So after the exams, I did a short stint at a private equity India RF, post which I switched into BCG. So one of the best consulting firms. So I've been there for almost, you can say 10 months technically. And it has been really wonderful and great. Yeah, so that was about me. moving to you, Pranav.
Hi everyone. Firstly, really excited to be here. I think this is one of the first few sessions that I am doing, especially with Divesh, who I've been in touch with and who I've known since the last 7-8 months or so. But happy to be here. I'm the anomaly here, guys. I don't have a rank. I've never achieved a rank in my CA journey. But so that it's good to have that perspective as well. That's why I feel like it'll be a little more interesting considering the three of us are here. But a little more about me. I have been born and brought up in Calcutta. I went to St. Xavier's College, Calcutta for my BCom. Did CA alongside, qualified CA in July 21 with Divesh. And my articleship was from a small or mid-sized firm. And I did a bunch of extracurriculars in college, which is partly one of the reasons that I'm even talking to you guys today. So I'll be giving you a little more insight on that as well. But that's all from my side. Looking forward to the discussion. Let's go.
Yeah. Thank you, Divesh, Bhramar, and Pranav for introducing yourself. Now, moving forward, let's not just wait time and let's get to the topic. So, as you all know, the name of this session is Management Consulting as a Career Option, focusing on the CA factor. So, Bhramar, I would like to ask this question to you. If you have to explain what a management consulting is to a layman, the person who does not know anything, how would you explain that?
Bhramar repeating the basic mistake again.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, Ashita, sure. So, in the simplest terms,
just interrupting a bit. Guys, are you comfortable in English, or we should do a mix, or should we prefer Hindi? You guys can type in the chat box. Divesh, you're on mute.
Yeah, like Bhramar said, please put on your videos. I will love it to be interactive. Yeah, I think Bhramar, we can go ahead with a mix.
Yeah, I think yes.
Yeah.
So, in most basicest terms, सबसे simply saying, management consulting is solving business problems, right? So, but obviously, I think everybody must know ki how much management consultancy firms charge for a single project, right? So, if it's not, it's always in crores, if not in double digits. So, obviously, jab we are charging so huge amount, the problems won't be simple, right? So we can come to the next part. Management consulting is solving complex business problems. So most of the clients you'll be handling as a management consultant would be the top clients that would be the Fortune 500 companies and probably the other big clients of the world. The problem kya hai? What are the typical types of problem that a company faces, right? So sabse pehli baat, this is industry agnostic. That is, usually the MBBs, they work across all the sectors. So what we have in MBBs is like we have verticals and we have horizontals. So in the sense, you might be working in an intersection of both of them. So vertical mein kya ho gaya? So the different industries. So there's a practice known as IG. So IG mein kya aa jayega? IG mein all your cement players, all your steel players, right? So that's one vertical, IG practice. Another would be consumer practice. So usme kya aa jayega? Sari FMCG clients, all the FMEG clients, retail, buyers, lights, etc. So like this, we have different industries. And now we have different functions in the horizontal. So horizontal, what could be the project about? So function मतलब हम करेंगे क्या, right? So it could range from anything as simple as cost reduction, right? So we'll be working on cost reduction in client, maybe across all its plants in India, or maybe targeting a specific plant, right? To getting into new markets, to EBITDA maximization strategy that we promise companies that will boost your EBITDA in 1 year, right? Or go to market, that how a company which has developed a product will deliver it to the customers. So basically the whole distribution network, the distributor, retailers, what is the pricing, what is the scheme, what is the optimum way, what is the optimum time of launching, everything. So we work across all functions and across all industries. So at any problem that the business might face, they may come to management consultants. So next question comes, लेकिन वो हमारे पास आएंगे क्यों? जब कंपनी है उस बिजनेस पे काम कर रही है, तो they have their own staff, right? So why do they come to the management consultants? So there are 2 points here. First is the outside in perspective. So I understand कि सबको समझ में आता होगा what is an outside in perspective. Basically getting a viewpoint from a third person. who is an objective, independent third person, because होता है कि तुम एक ही चीज में काफी सारा चीज the industry veterans might be working on an industry for 30 years. Lekin you as a fresher chartered accountant might say something which they might not have thought about in the past 30 years. So one is that first outside in perspective, and second, obviously, the specialization that the management consulting firm holds. So all these management consulting firms have vast experiences. So when you get into a management consulting firm, it's not your knowledge that the client is leveraging, but you deliver value to the client by leveraging onto the institution's knowledge. That is the management consulting firm's knowledge. So be it any MBB, be it any consulting firms, they have a plethora of resources. So obviously they have worked on a variety of cases in the past years, right? So they have a ready repository of analytical tools, database, trends, and all those things. So it's the vast institutional knowledge which also the clients come for to a management consulting firm. So that was pretty much about management consulting, I think.
Yeah, thank you, Bhramar. Very well explained. So moving forward, I would like to ask next question to Pranav. If now you guys have been working in this field for some period of time, so if you have to explain what a typical day looks like, or day to day, what are your activities? How would you tell that to our audience?
Yeah, absolutely. So with management consulting, actually, it's very varied. Everybody's experiences are varied, and that is also driven by what Bhramar said, right? That is very industry agnostic. So to give you some more perspective, the way an industrial goods client conducts an engagement with us is very different from the way a private equity firm conducts an engagement with us. So there is a lot of difference in how we operate, but the foundations and the basics remain the same. What is our job? Our job is to give insights to the client. How do we do it? We do it by understanding data, leveraging our own knowledge, leveraging internal experts, and we put all of that analysis down in the primary form of communication to the client, which is PowerPoint presentation, right? And it sounds basic, PPT banate hain, but trust me, that is how we actually deliver insights to our clients, and that is the most powerful way of doing it. So the client is always shown PowerPoint presentations, which we obviously voice over, which we present to them. And that contains all the insights that we've uncovered. When you go one layer deeper, the insights come from a variety of sources, right? We obviously leverage a lot of secondary sources. So secondary would mean, proprietary databases, say Gartner reports or IDC or Forrester. All of these are research agencies that conduct analysis of various markets, which we use. But more importantly, we use primary interviews, primary research, which is we talk to experts in that field. Why is that important? Because if we are trying to solve a case for a chemical industry client, we need to know about their business. And ultimately, consultants at heart are generalists. Like me, Bhramar, Divesh, we're all generalists, especially at this level. So we leverage our network and we try to get opinions from experts in that field. And that is the way of doing primary research. A typical day would usually entail a lot of Excel in most cases to kind of understand where the data is coming from, assimilating it. And the way that data is actually put to actionable insight is via PPT, which is PowerPoint presentations. So a lot of the day goes in making PowerPoint presentations and Excel. But I would say that's just part of it, because a large part of the day actually goes in thinking what to do and thinking about the business. And that is something which you don't actually realize until you've worked for a few months, and then you think about how much time you spend on each aspect of in your day, and you realize that most of it was just hardcore problem solving, which is what consulting is really about. The client has a problem, they come to you and you try and solve it. So apart from just thinking about the problem, trying to solve it, making Excel, making PowerPoint presentations, there's a bunch of updates and meetings that we typically have. So meetings would be internal meetings with our seniors, with our senior managers, with our partners. That takes up some time during the day so that even they know exactly what's happening and how we are running the case, because the leadership is obviously not working very closely on a day-to-day basis with the data. That's us. And they are the ones who kind of steer us into making sure that we're going on the right path. And of course, the second form of communication is with the client. It happens in the form of emails, or it happens in the form of weekly updates or weekly catch-ups, or just final presentations where we present the final deliverables to them. But that's pretty much what a day or week of a management consultant looks like. Of course, it can get hectic, it can be intense, but it's just a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun if you enjoy solving problems. That's what I would say.
Yeah, thank you, Pranav. That the profile sounds interesting as you have explained. So, moving to in continuation with how Pranav has explained, but Divesh, next question is for you. Don't you think that if it's such a great profile, why few CAs enter this domain, or are there any entry barriers for them that they're unable to get here?
Got it. Before I ask you a question, I think some other question in the chat. Just to the audience, we'll answer all those questions towards the end, like after this panel discussions. Once we are done with answering all the FAQs, we'll come to the audience questions also. So we'll then keep those questions with you. Yeah. So answering your question, Archita, it's not like few CAs. I mean, yeah. The fact is, few CAs are getting, but then at the same time, it does not really mean that there is lack of opportunities. It's actually a growing field in the sense that of late, the number of CAs that have been getting into management consulting has really been increasing. So if you see in the last, let's say 4 years, पहले जितने लोग थे, उससे let's say 4x लोग अभी management consulting में, like in terms of chartered accountants, are getting into. And of late, even though hiring firms have understood the fact that CAs turn out to be a very good resource for those firms. So I think it's a multiplicity of combined. It's not really that CAs are lacking anywhere. And if it is, I would not really want to put it this way, but maybe to the extent that CA is required to get develop those soft skills for them to actually get into management consulting. Because at the end of the day, management consulting, like Pranav said rightly, is a generalist role. So आपको कोई particular skill नहीं चाहिए, but except for the fact that you need to have those soft skills so that you can work in a team, you can interact with a lot of people. That is what is probably needed. But having said that, again, the opportunities for CAs in the management consulting domain in the last few years have been increasing, and I'm sure it will go on increasing in the times to come.
Okay, yeah, okay, Divesh. So, one small question here. So, is your work you do in your management consulting? Does the work resonate with what we do in our articleship, or the kind of work CAs are doing?
So if I'm to give a one-word answer, my answer would be no. It would not. I mean, you would not go on to file returns, you would not go on to do vouching, verification, etc. But yeah, it would resonate to the extent that during your articleship also, or within the CA domain also, the kind of work that you ultimately do apart from clients would be you giving advisory to the clients, At the end of the day, the work that consultants also do is a form of advisory, right? It's just that the advisory you give is very different from what you would have given as a CA. Or maybe as a CA at a smaller level, you do, let's say, advise businesses on how to run them. But that's just a part of what you do within the within the CA practice. A lot of what you do would be filing tax returns and audit, even project finance, etc. The kind of work over here, like Bhramar has already explained, I would not want to reiterate it, is majorly focused around solving business problems. So obviously that would not completely resonate with the kind of work you do. But having said that, having that articleship exposure or knowledge would always help. Not help directly. I mean, मेरे को income tax return file करने का knowledge होगा तो directly help नहीं करना है. But it will always help, in the sense that you will be good problem solver. You'll have good analytical skills at the end of the day. You'll know how to use Excel well. And all of these basic things add up for you to actually become a good problem solver here in consulting. Because reiterating again, it's a generalist field. Everything that you do every day would be a new thing. But to tackle that new thing, and I think again a higher level aspect would be CA में भी यही होता है कि any problem your client throws at you, you're supposed to solve that problem by reading, let's say, the Bain Act, etc. Even if you actually are not aware of the solution, right? That is the same thing. I would draw the rationale over here. So at a higher level, yes, the larger aspects of analytics and problem solving would remain the same, but obviously the day-to-day work is completely different from what you would have done in articles.
There's just something that I'd like to add on. Sorry, Ashita. There's a reason why consulting firms hire from everywhere. Like in our teams, we have electrical engineers, mechanical engineers, civil engineers, folks who studied psychology, folks who studied CA. And that's because you don't necessarily need certain set of hard skills to get into consulting. Honestly, all they want is smart folks who can solve business problems. Like that's all they want. They want you to have an analytical bent of mind and a problem-solving bent of mind. If you have that, then the industry that you come from or the field that you've studied in is actually, it does not matter. Where the field comes in is the opportunity that you get. For example, as Divesh said, CAs haven't, I mean, we've always been analytical and driven and all of that, but we haven't gotten these opportunities until very recently. So like the hard skills are, they're not really a core set of hard skills that you need, but it's the frame of mind that you need to have in order to get into consulting, and that's what these firms look for, and that's why they hire from all kinds of fields.
Okay, thank you for adding that, Pranav. Now, I would like to answer Bhramar the next question. Based on your experience, how is the work-life balance in management consulting?
Okay. So the most asked question here. So a typical day of management consultant on a weekday would start at, I would say, 9 a.m. mostly, and nobody would know when it would end. So that's the reality. So work-life balance, frankly speaking, on a weekday, there's no work-life balance. But the weekends are completely protected in most of the cases, in most of the cases, unless the client is literally on fire or there's something very, very big happening on Monday, you are not expected to work on weekend. To give you some perspective, of 11 months that I've been working in BCG, today is my first working day, first working weekend. So yeah, I think that follows the same for Bain and the other big consulting firms as well. So weekends are usually protected, but in weekdays, so average hours would range anywhere around 12 plus hours. And yeah, it depends on case to case. Obviously, it depends on the case to case, and some execution or implementation cases might be chill. So you might log off like say 11 hours, even after 11 hours. But strategy cases are usually more intense. So that time average hours go anywhere around 14 to 15 hours. But I'd like to add another perspective here is like, so I've had 2 cases till now, and one was virtual. I worked there virtually, and the present case I'm working physically. So I go to the client office, interact with my colleagues, interact with the client, all physically. So virtual versus physical का experience मेरा completely different रहा है. So when you work virtually ना, it's very difficult to take in even 12 hours. मतलब अगर तुम अकेले काम करते हो, it's like you're just like you're with Excel, you are making PPTs, you obviously interact with your team and clients on Zoom calls occasionally, लेकिन बहुत ज़्यादा frustrating हो जाता है. But believe me guys, तो मेरा जो virtual case था ना, that was on the lighter side. तो मैं उसमें ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा 12 hours काम करता था. In this case, I've been working for more than 12 hours on an average, right? But still, I feel that this case is more easy, or this case balances my work life. Because the thing is, when you work physically with, and mind you, that management consulting firms में जो भी आता है ना, so they are not just academically brilliant, but they are themselves a personality. So management consulting firms make sure even एक छोटा सा इंटरव्यू का फिल्टरिंग क्राइटेरिया भी रहता है कि इंटरव्यूअर थिंक्स कि इफ यू आर पुट विद दैट पर्सन इन अ कार फॉर 1 hour, विल यू बी एबल टू टॉक विद दैट पर्सन. तो वो भी एक छोटा सा एस्पेक्ट रहता है व्हेन इंटरव्यूअर इवैल्यूएट्स द कैंडिडेट्स. सो एवरीबॉडी इज यूनिक एंड एवरीबॉडी इज ऑसम, सो यू विल लव वर्किंग विद देम. सो ऐसा नहीं होगा कि द on weekdays when you're working for like more than 12 hours that you'll be frustrated, बस हाँ तुम काम कर रहे हो and everything is fucked, you're thinking कि क्या कर रहा हूँ मैं जिंदगी में. So you really enjoy those hours as well. So I'd like to add that perspective to WLB. लेकिन हाँ मतलब speaking plainly कुछ WLB नहीं होता on weekdays, but weekends are usually protected.
I think to add on to what Bhramar said, I think I'm totally aligned to whatever he said, including the physical versus virtual wala comparison. But just to give you another perspective, I think कहीं ना कहीं होता है ना, once you start articleship, work for 8-10 hours, feel अरे 8-10 घंटे भी ज़्यादा, we are expected to work only 7 hours by IPCC and we are working 10 hours, season में 12 घंटे काम कर रहे हैं. The day you start consulting, maybe for the first 1 or 2-3 weeks, you will feel that way कि अरे इतने घंटे काम करना पड़ रहा है. But beyond an extent, trust me, you will get habituated. I'm not saying you will feel good about working so much. You may or may not, depending on the case you're working for, the people you're working with. But in general, फिर शायद 12-13 घंटे इतने भारी ना लगे जितने otherwise आपको लगे. That's one. Second is, as a compare, I think a part of your question, Harshita, is how's the work-life balance as compared with other opportunities out there. I think if I'm to compare with, let's say specifically IB, I feel consulting has a much better work-life balance as compared to investment banking, given the fact that those guys probably have to work even on weekends versus यहाँ पे और weekends are protected. Compared with industry, obviously industry का work-life balance is better. Management consulting has a slightly bad work-life balance. Comparing it with Big Four, यार audit में or Big Four or let's say CA firms, यार audit में a lot of people would have worked. So you guys know के seasons में तो, and a lot of months are seasons only out of the entire year. So you guys do end up working a lot of time even on weekends, etc. So अगर total number of hours you put in Big Four throughout the year को compare करो consulting firm से, more or less same होगा. I'm not saying exactly same होगा. Let's say tilde 10% का difference होगा ही, but इतना भी फर्क नहीं पड़ेगा. That I mean it should not be answer changing at least in the initial few years whether आपको consulting में काम करना चाहिए या नहीं करना चाहिए.
Obviously, another point to add here is if you work twice the hours that an average industry guy does, you grow twice as well. So that's adding another perspective to it.
Just one thing I'd like to add. Actually, all of it has been covered by Bhramar and Divesh, but there's just a couple of things. One, the long hours are much better. They feel much better because consulting is very dynamic. You keep changing industries, you keep working with different teams. Your job might be anything. It is not repetitive in most cases. Like if I were to say one thing consulting is not, it's monotonous or repetitive because you keep solving either different problems for the same client or you work with different clients across industries. So at least you will not feel bored कि मैं same चीज कर रहा हूँ every day, which is what happens in a lot of traditional CA roles, I believe. And the other thing is, because the work culture is so good at BCG, Bain, McKinsey, hopefully others as well, although I'm not really aware, we don't manufacture work. Like if we have, the reason we work those long hours is because we actually have to deliver something to the client. Nobody will ask you to work till 10 p.m. just because others are if you don't have work, or nobody will ask you to say that yaar 4 baje kaise nikal sakte ho. If you are done, I have left office at 4 p.m. also because I was done. Like kuch aur kaam nahi tha. We were wrapping up the case. So there is no manufacturing of work at all. Your seniors will not make you sit and work just because they are supposed to give you, like, make you fill 10 hours on your time sheet. Aisa kuch nahi hai. We actually have that much work because we're actually delivering that much to the client.
Yeah, thank you, three of you, for giving an insight into the work-life balance aspect. So next question is for you, Pranav. Now talking about this specifically entry into this domain, what is the typical screening process, or I would say more specific, the interview part? How is it? What kind of questions and what are the expectations of the people hiring you?
Yeah, that's actually a very pertinent question. And I think that's the most important question, actually, if I think about what it takes to get into consulting. And the answer is that there are a couple of aspects. The first is an oft overlooked aspect, which is called a CV. I've had the privilege of seeing a few CVs in the last couple of weeks, and it is very, very important to have a good CV. Why? Because your shortlisting happens on the basis of a CV. To give you context, BCG, Bain, correct me if I'm wrong, but there are every single term when they conduct PA recruitment drives, they shortlist what, 30, 40 odd people, 50 maximum. There are what, 70, 80 rankers every term? Yeah. So yeah, you can, like, the way for them to filter out is your CV. So even if you have a rank, it's not assured that you will get a shortlist. And that is why you need to have a stellar CV, right? And for folks who do not have rank, like I did not have a rank, it is even more important to make yourself stand out somehow by really having a good CV. So that's the first, I would say, hurdle. After you cross the first hurdle, after your CV is shortlisted, that's when the core consulting process starts, right? You have what is known as a case interview. Now, the time gap between the shortlisting and your actual interview is at least 2 to 3 weeks in most cases. And that is because you are given some time to actually understand and prepare for case-based interviews. Now, we'll come to what case-based interviews are. But some of the other aspects of a typical consulting interview process would be, say, a buddy program, which is very, very typical to consulting. I haven't seen it in a lot of other industries. So a buddy program is where where MBBs will assign you a buddy, who is usually somebody who's a year or two into the organization that you've applied for, and they will kind of help you out. They will answer your questions. They will do some case-based interviews with you. They will do mocks with you. They will tell you everything that you need to know about that particular firm. That's a very good aspect of the total of the entire interview process that consulting firms typically have. And then you'll have things like a pre-placement talk where leadership from the firm will interact with you. You can ask them your questions. They will explain what the firm does and what they do well. And that's broadly it. The interview is not at all like a typical, it's actually, I can't compare it to anything. I don't know what to compare it with because a case interview is a completely different ballgame. We'll come to what a case interview is actually. Let's talk about that. And Divesh, Bhramar, please do feel free to add onto that. So a case-based interview is when you are given a problem statement, which is inspired in most cases by real life events, or which could actually happen in real life. So a very simple case, and this is one of the first cases that you'll end up doing. A restaurant has been facing a decline in revenues for the last few months. You have been hired as a consultant to find out what the problem is. Now, this is known as the problem statement. And you are supposed to, in the course of 10 to 15 minutes, actually think about the problem and come to an answer. Now, the difference between a typical interview and this interview is that it's a very collaborative interview. It's not like somebody asks you a question and you have to answer it. Because if I ask you a question that why is a restaurant not facing an increase in revenue, there's no right answer to that. So the process is that you start thinking about what the reasons could be. And it is the interviewer's job to also keep guiding you towards the answer that they want you to reach. Another big aspect here is not necessarily the answer, but how you get there. So in most cases, a lot of emphasis in case interviews is laid on how well you structure and think about the problem. So when you receive this problem, say, okay, a restaurant is facing a decline in profitability. You have to think and you tell the interviewer what you're thinking in a very structured manner. So it could be due to internal factors like the cook is bad, like the chef has changed, the waiters are not very friendly. It could be due to external factors that maybe the location is bad. Suddenly there's been construction activity. It's been hidden by a metro station that's been made. Anything, right? All of these are possible answers, but it's not about the answer. It's about how you get there. It's about you thinking about all possible aspects and then narrowing down into the one aspect that the interviewer wants to guide you towards. So interviewer is also like your friend actually in this case, and they want to help you solve the case. What they are actually testing is whether you have the analytical and problem solving chops to figure it out in a very structured and logical way. That is what an interview is. Usually 2 to 3, at least for Bain, 3 rounds in a single day. Typically ends with a partner round. Bhramar, I don't know if it's different for BCG, but I would say 2 to 3 rounds mostly. Yeah, 2 to 3 rounds in one single day. 3 rounds is what I've heard typically happens. And if you clear all the 3 rounds, elimination hota hai at the end of each round, I would say. And basis your scores and your performance in the 3 rounds, you get the offer. That's basically the process. Bhramar, Divesh, please do add on in case I've missed something.
I think perfectly explained, Pranav, like whatever you said.
Yeah, just another thing is like the case interviews don't usually last just 15-20 minutes. So it might go from anywhere from half an hour to even 1 hour. So it depends on how fast you get there. Yeah.
True. Yeah. And it also depends a lot on the interviewer's mood and like the kind of interviewer they are. Also,
the
like
type of problem statement as well.
Exactly. And the reason why you don't know what to expect in an interview is because interviewers are usually senior folks and managers, the associate partners or project leaders. I think you call it BCG. And these guys will give you problems that they've seen themselves. So they know it very well. And you could get, if you get somebody who's working in the pharma field, you can get a pharma project. If a pharma case, if you're interviewed by someone who's doing consumer products, you'll get a different kind of case completely. So it's very like I feel like in consulting interviews, the interviewer is given a free hand to a very large extent in how they want to run the interview and what kind of questions they want to ask. So there's no like one stop, like there's no one template of a typical case interview at all.
Yeah, completely agree. Yeah.
Anything to add, Divesh and Bhramar, to that?
I think, he covered the depth and breadth of it.
Actually, there is one thing. I mean, it's very tough to understand what a case interview is when we just talk about it. So if you guys are actually interested, Case Interviews Cracked is a great book. I think Cases Over Coffee is another resource. IIMs release case books which have transcripts of actual case interviews which are done in campus. So if you are interested in this role or just this field, or actually if you're just interested in reading something interesting, just go through it because you'll understand what a case interview actually is. And yes, there are like a lot of great videos on YouTube, on McKinsey channel, Bain channel, BCG YouTube channels, as well as folks like Victor Cheng who upload a lot of videos on how to structure a case.
Thank you, Pranav, for being very comprehensive in that part.